To DotLife, Dorchester's hyperlocal source of news, commentary, and analysis in podcast format. We are here today with Bill Forey of the Dorchester Reporter. Good to see you, Bill.
Back again. Keep coming back.
Yep.
You keep inviting me, so I'm going to keep coming back.
It's such a joy to have you, man. I can't help it.
Congratulations on another successful Dorchfest Dot Day weekend.
Thank you.
We survived, but we also thrived. It was a great weekend.
Yeah, the rain was not, didn't stay away, but it didn't dampen too much.
No,
luckily.
not as much as the heat is dampening us at the moment. Actually, I thought as far as the weather went on Saturday for Dorchfest, it was a mixed bag.
Yeah.
But it was also pretty cool to see people dancing in the street in the rain.
Yeah.
In front of 30 Boutwell, was it?
30 Beaumont, yeah.
Beaumont, yeah. And just like, it was an amazing, like, it was almost like a rain dance situation with, they had conjured up, and it was the Samba group.
The Samba Viva group, yeah, they were great.
Samba Viva.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, a couple hundred people dancing in the street.
Yeah.
Including one of my kids.
Oh, really?
And my wife. I was filming, but
yeah.
They
Did you make it down to 104 Beaumont?
I might have, yeah. I kind of
Okay.
made the whole circuit.
Okay.
I can't remember what was.
There was a DJ there, DJ Bees, who I
Yes.
think is going to be on one of our Tiny Dots soon. And he was just playing music, and people were also dancing and coordination. I don't know who told them to do that. I don't have that like instinct, but it was really cool. It was really fun.
I saw several I kind of followed your advice. You had told somebody just follow your ear around, and kind of went where the music led us. And we found Robert Thackeray on Caruth Street, who was going strong.
Yep.
And he knew his audience. He went right into Taylor Swift.
Oh, jeez.
Just at the right moment, and got swarmed by, a lot of teenage girls and guys, and everybody who's a Swiftie these days. And he had a great finale too. And then we saw Hakeem come on after him.
Same porch, right?
Same porch.
Yep.
Yeah, we actually helped Robert carry his stuff
back
to his car. We were the roadies
Nice.
for Robert Thackeray,
Nice.
my son Connor and I. And then we also saw, who else did we see? I don't know. We just kind of run around. I couldn't even tell you who they were, but it was awesome.
Did you catch Eric Royer, the one-man band?
I didn't. I missed Eric, but now I always have him forever now on DotLife episode 5, I think it is.
Yeah.
So, but
awesome. Well,
congrats.
thanks for coming out. I saw you again the next day at the parade. You guys were
The parade was better weather and
Yeah.
Just as successful. I thought the crowd was strong. There were some interesting bands. I thought Chris Worrell, the state rep, had a terrific it wasn't quite a marching band, but it was like a New Orleans style band that accompanied him.
Cool.
And he had a really strong showing, and the best parade rap video that I've seen to date. With
Wait,
he and his
is
brother.
it Chris or Brian?
Well, it's both who walked. So
Okay.
Councilor Brian Worrell and Rep Chris Worrell, obviously brothers, and they walked together with dual banners and a lot of volunteers and energy.
Nice.
And they both have, I don't know if they're using the same social media team, but Chris's is the one I saw first, and it was fantastic. He was, the band was also really grabbing the audience as it made its way down Dot Ave, playing, Kendrick Lamar songs and
Nice.
the whole repertoire of really engaging the younger crowd as Chris and Brian kind of pumped them up all the way, chanting, huge Dorchester boosters. And I saw Chris Worrell a couple nights later. He's already planning next year's parade.
Nice.
It's great energy that some of the younger folks are bringing. And I know sometimes people roll their eyes with the politicians coming through and there's too many of them and blah, blah, blah. I get that and kind of share that perspective sometimes.
Yeah.
But when they bring a band with them, you got to show them love.
Idea. Yeah,
and
definitely.
Chris brought terrific, and Brian Worrell brought terrific energy. The parade this year had both major mayoral candidates walking with their contingents, and that made for interesting news as well. But I thought that, Julia Mejia, the city councilor, had a lot of volunteers, a lot of energy. All the citywide candidates at large were there. So, yeah, political heavy, but it's an election year. It's a mayoral election.
Right.
That's what happens. I did hear some people say, "Oh, we need more bands. We need more marching bands." That's a constant refrain I hear every year.
Okay.
But there's a lot of volunteers working hard all year round to make this thing happen at all.
Right.
As you know, how much work it takes to get Dorchfest done, and now this pod. It's a labor of love for the folks who do it. So I salute them. Brianne Gore, Kelly Walsh, the other men and women, Mike Skolka, who was on your show. Yeah. They do a terrific job. Richmond Street, where we live, there's neighbors pitching in too to help here and there. But there's really a small core of people who do all the work all year round. Yeah. And they did a great job once again.
Yeah, absolutely. I was with Brandy Fuka-Reed's group. Thanks again to Brandy for inviting me. And I saw two floats the whole time, the one in front of us and the one behind us.
So you got the picture, though.
Yeah, I got the idea.
What was your impression of the crowd? Like, was there one stretch of the avenue that you thought brought the energy?
I mean, my home neighborhood came out because they knew I was going to be there, I think is probably why. But I honestly thought it was a little sparser than I expected. I've never walked it before. I've watched it, so I maybe that's normal, but I did think like Fields Corner was a little light and up, going up .Av.
Yeah, there's pockets now. Like it used to be, way back.
Yeah.
People talk about that. Oh, it was 10 deep, on the sidewalks. I mean, that's true in certain pockets for sure. Like Dorchester Park, Peabody Square, Savin Hill, parts of Fields Corner.
Yeah.
And then you go stretches and it's pretty thin. Yeah. But, there's places that are, I saw the Blend had a huge crowd and
great.
A big party going.
Yeah, and they had a drag queen outside, which was awesome. Yeah, it was very cool.
It helps.
Speaking of that, happy Pride Month.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I was just about to bring up your headgear. Very nice, very appropriate, flying the flag.
Yeah.
The reporter has the flag on, the Pride flag flying high on our masthead this week.
Yep.
As we do each year now. So are you going to Pride?
I don't know. One of my friends is having a party. So I don't know if I'll make it to the parade and the party or just the party. But one of my girlfriend from back home is visiting. So maybe I'll take her. Nice. Yeah.
It's a great take. I haven't made plans yet. Okay. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, we're just coming off Dot Day weekend. So usually I've tried to take a little hiatus. But we'll see.
You've got this weekend to recover, and then next weekend to party again.
True, that's true. Yeah. And recover is the operative word this week.
My gosh!
I mean, it was a great weekend, but it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And as you know, sometimes at my house after the parade, that's when some of the real work begins for me. I was on the grill for like 5 hours, and we had a nice crowd out there. So thanks everyone for coming through.
Yeah.
And to my wife Linda for hosting amazingly.
Linda's an amazing woman, host. Thank you. By the way, happy anniversary
this
week, right?
We celebrated by Linda emceeing an event that evening.
That was the Business Legacy Awards.
Business Legacy Awards in the South End at the Calderwood Pavilion.
I have something for you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I like when you bring gifts.
I know. Let's see if I can get this open.
So the Business Legacy Awards, as people may know, we've talked about on the show before, 30 businesses from across the city picked this year. Oh, is this Ice Creamsmith?
Do you prefer .Dirt or?
I haven't had .Dirt yet.
Banana.
Ooh, that's a tough call. I think I'm going to go with the .Dirt.
.Dirt, all right.
Are we eating this on air?
We're eating this on air.
Okay, I may need a napkin.
So John said he didn't want to join us. He's just watching, so he doesn't get any ice cream.
We have a guest in the studio today, John Forey, who you'll be meeting at some point soon. Fresh back from Jamaica. Yeah, man.
So the reason we're eating Ice Creamsmith is because it's really freaking hot in here. But also, they were recognized at the Business Legacy Awards.
They were. They were also on the cover of the Reporter for that same reason. The Ice Creamsmith. I don't really think anybody needs introduction of the Ice Creamsmith, do they? The Ice Creamsmith.
Oh my gosh!
All right,
so good, so banana-y. Wow. I don't think I've ever had their banana.
The .Dirt is the flavor of the month, or are they both?
I don't know. I'm not really
This
sure.
one was the flavor of the month last week.
Is it good?
I guess it's still the month. It's very good. I'm just spilling it on myself.
John is so jealous right now.
Well, John, here. There you go. Have at it. Ice Creamsmith. So started in 1976 by Dave and Robin Mabel, who are then transitioned the business in, I think it was 2010 or so or 2016, sorry.
Okay.
2016, to their daughter, Sarah, and her husband, Chris Skillen, who met when they were working as teenagers at the Ice Creamsmith.
That's so cute.
When I think Chris was 16 years old when he started working there. The Skillens and the Mabels, both, well-known Dorchester, Lower Mills families. Mm-hmm. But Dave and Robin started this business when there wasn't a lot going on in Lower Mills and Dorchester at that time. Like the Walter Baker chocolate factory was still kind of like empty. Not a thing. Yeah, it hadn't really been restored yet, or was just being restored. Some of the businesses that have joined now along the Ave that we know so well, Pat's Pizza and the Lower Mills Tavern, and the Poop Pooch certainly wasn't even like a glimmer in someone's eye yet. But the Ice Creamsmith was like the pioneer, like let's roll the dice and open up on Dorchester Ave in that era. We've talked about this on the show before. It wasn't the like boom time in the mid '70s in Dorchester, but they took the chance. So now we have the second generation ownership, and it's going strong. It's probably, it's certainly, I'm biased, but it's my favorite ice cream parlor in the city. I know my family shares that view. But when we go in there, we see tons of people from Milton, from Mattapan, from beyond. So it's definitely a local favorite, but it's a draw. Like we have a real iconic business right in our neighborhood. And to see them recognized, we saw Dave and Robin, who now live outside the city because they're in their retirement, and they come back basically to refill their freezer every week or two, they told me, and to see their grandkids, of course.
Yeah.
But they've done a wonderful job continuing that legacy Chris and Sarah have, and growing it. There's always young teenagers working in there usually. It's their first job. So the point of the Business Legacy Award is to obviously highlight the longevity of these businesses, but to show what they're doing now for the local economy. And the Ice Creamsmith is a great example of one that's constantly generating jobs, putting people into new careers, but also feeding us and keeping us happy with their. My favorite at the Ice Creamsmith is a mocha frap.
Okay.
I mean, there's no place that does it better.
I almost picked mocha for you as the flavor. Something told me you were a mocha guy.
I'm definitely a mocha guy. True. Thank you. There's not as much left as I thought there'd be.
Well, it is definitely very refreshing because it's a little schwitzy out today. But thank you, Ice Creamsmith.
This is going to be a frap in like a minute.
Yeah, you're going to be able to drink it. Yeah,
melted down quite a bit. But they also had ballet out there. Ballet is also in this week's paper. Mm-hmm. I was thrilled to see Jennifer Wynn and her family, up on stage, along with Cindy Quinn from Green Hills, who will be doing more coverage on next week. Mm. And it's really cool to just meet entrepreneurs from across the city. So Mayor Wu, with baby mirror in hand, gave out the awards it was Tuesday evening with Linda. And then Linda and I did make it to dinner downtown Boston. We went to the Quinn.
Oh, okay.
The Quinn House.
Nice,
in the back bay.
Which?
We went to Bondo.
Okay.
It's the sushi spot.
Okay.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Rachel and I went there a little while ago. It was good.
It's very good. Yeah. We strayed out of Dorchester for the night.
I think that's allowed. Yeah.
Yes.
So let's transition to something a little less fun than ice cream. We've got but ice is involved. I guess that's a good transition, right?
Oh, yeah. Ice is involved.
Ice is involved, yeah.
Attorney General Andrea Campbell wrote an op-ed piece in The Reporter for us this week to really talk about what her office is telling people to do with ice, because there's a lot of confusion for good reason, a lot of fear, a lot of apprehension, but also just a lot of misinformation out there about people's rights. And she put out some interesting infographics last week. Her office did in a pamphlet called Know Your Rights, which is a 7-page, basically manual for folks dealing with or anticipating maybe having to encounter ICE agents out in the streets or at their home or business or something. And what do you do?
Yeah.
I actually think a lot of officials don't know what to do, right? And they're learning on the go. There's obviously a dispute between the ICE agents or at least their superiors. There's been some pretty feisty exchanges back and forth just in the last day or two between Mayor Wu, the head of the Homeland Security office here in Massachusetts, and the chief agent essentially for Customs and Immigration.
Well, I don't think the ICE agents are necessarily following a standard playbook either. I think they're just doing whatever they want to do.
It's hard to tell because from the media perspective, you'd like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but it's hard to do it when you're not really, they're not giving much access to media to say, oh, by the way, if you want to do a follow, a ride along and see how we do this and why we're doing it.
Right.
That might help the cause if they were to do that from their perspective. And I'm not rooting for that.
Right.
But the truth is, we just don't know much.
Mm-hmm.
What you see are snippets of usually social media people filming an encounter.
Yep.
You don't know how it starts. You don't always see the whole picture. So in fairness, a lot context does matter. Mm-hmm. But our elected officials in government, Mayor Wu included, Ayanna Pressley, the congresswoman this week, spoke out very strongly against what she's seeing and hearing from her constituents. And Andrea Campbell, who the piece that she wrote for us was really kind of step by step, like what are your rights specifically about letting someone into your home who claims to be an ICE agent? What if they have a warrant, or what if they don't? How do you navigate that? She gave some pretty clear instructions. Is it the final word on how this works, how these engagements happen? Probably not.
Yeah.
I think there'll be adjustments made from even her perspective. And she's getting pushback, of course, from the federal level, and accusations that they're not being cooperative. Right. So it's a bit murky, but Andrea Campbell's our neighbor. She's not technically as of right now, but we've known her for many years. She lived in Mattapan with her family until very recently. So we know her well. Yeah. I mean, in moments like this, of moments of crisis, you tend to go to officialdom who you're familiar with.
Trusted sources, yeah. Yeah.
So we went to her office and said, would the AG be willing to write about this? And she did. Yeah. So we're pleased to present it. I think we're the only news outlet that has that in Boston, at least this week. So it's interesting reading. And as I said, we'll keep tracking it. What we do know is that ICE claims to have arrested 1,500 people in the month of May, or detained them across the state, not just in Boston. But that's a significant surge. Well,
I heard that this was it this week they announced that they're raising numbers to 3,000 people a day they want detained.
Nationally?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how we'll hit that. I mean, many people. It seems
aggressive, and where do you put them, and how do you process them, in a lawful way?
Right.
I think that's the key thing, from Andrea Campbell's perspective is, and I've heard the governor say this and others, is like, look, nobody is quarreling with the idea of, few people are quarreling with the idea of detaining people who are violent offenders or, may have not only overstayed their visa but abused it by criminal activity here. Mm-hmm. There's a system for that. There's a process for that. There's, and those people have rights as well.
Right.
So that extrajudicial element that seems to be unfolding in specific instances is of great concern. The other element now is the travel ban and how that specifically impacts the Haitian American community, the Venezuelan community, the Cuban American community, the whole litany of local immigrant groups, especially Haitians in our case, because we have such a volume of Haitian Americans, including my family, others, for which it's not a surprise. I mean, this is what you get when you elect this person, this administration.
Yep.
But it's now another layer of stress, another layer of unraveling what it means.
Right, exactly. Yeah, lots to keep our eyes on and stay informed and make sure we're doing our part to, help.
Yep. So that's in the report of this week. We also have a story that I think is kind of important for folks to wrap their brains around in the Fields Corner area.
Yeah, which new development, right?
Yeah, well, it's pretty new actually. Yeah, they just filed their latest plans for a building that everyone's going to know because you drive by it or you walk by it. It's right in the cross section of Adams Street and Dorchester Ave. It's the biggest building on the block. It's known as the O'Hearn Dorchester Music Hall, and it's got a couple of names. Everybody would pretty much know it as the post office building, though.
Okay,
that's where the retail office of the 02122 zip code is. And that's been there for a decade, probably more than 50 years. But the building itself goes back to the 19th century. It was a music hall, literally like a vaudevillian kind of Strand Theater-like facility where it's smaller than the Strand, but where there'd be performances and classical music, but also over the years, eventually film or, sketch comedy kind of things, I guess. It's been bricked over, but there used to be massive, large windows that in the new renderings of this proposed redevelopment would be restored. So
that's cool.
It looks very cool,
yeah.
And there's a lot of excitement about it.
Who's developing it?
Originally, it was going to be Travis Lee, Lee
nice.
Development, who's done other very interesting projects in Fields Corner and elsewhere in Dorchester, had a hand in Dorchester Brewing Company's creation.
Does very thoughtful development projects. He's great developer.
He does. So he got the ball rolling, and Lee Development is no longer the owner or the developer. So they've sold it now to a company that's based in Waltham called Beantown.
Okay.
They are now the owners of the property, and they've proposed now a redevelopment that will include a new building to go up next to it with more residential units. They'll repurpose the music hall building, and they'll take an old building that's in the back that's actually a historic building called the Fields House. That's where Fields Corner, the name Fields Corner comes from. There was an original Dorchester family, when I say original, obviously part of the settlement community in the 1600s called the Fields, and they ran a store and had a building right at that intersection going back to Revolutionary War days, apparently. And this building got relocated to the rear of the property when this larger brick building that we see now was built. That building is also going to be restored as part of this project. So it's 49 units altogether of housing, but there'll also be some retail space, including preserving the office for the 02122 post office. So if people are wondering,
can we get some performance space in there? That would be great.
That would be cool. And I think Historic Boston wrote about this, the nonprofit group, a few years ago when this first came up. I think Travis Lee was talking about this back in 2021 originally to buy and repurpose this property. And Historic Boston said it would be great to just restore it to its original. But I think this proposal is more of a mix of uses, including housing, which obviously we need, and Fields Corner is a great location for that. This project just got filed, like the latest notification, on Monday with the city planning agency, and the comment period ends in early July. So that's moving pretty quickly. I think the city of Boston likes this concept and is eager to get it moving now that it's been filed. So people who are interested in learning more about it, especially abutters and close-in neighbors who are like, well, what is this? The Dorchester Reporter website, dotnews.com, we have a story about it. But Boston Planning Department has a whole project page, where you can go in, review it, and then leave comments about
positive or negative,
what you see about it, positive and negative. And as I said, it's a pretty quickly paced comment period, so go take a look at it soon. Do
positive comments help things like that? Do they take those into account, or are they mostly just looking for like objections and concerns? I think that, candidly, by the time it comes to a comment period, I think a lot of the city planners behind the scenes have already given them a lot of the notes, anticipating, kind of knowing the common problems that get brought up by community. Right. But we have seen projects change from comment periods. A good example is the 150 Center Street project, which has been a huge controversy by Shawmut Station. Oh, this is the one in the Epiphany School? Yeah, next to the Epiphany, and it's like a 72-unit project. But originally it was much more units. They scaled it back. It's still very unpopular among some abutters. There's a range of emotions about that one, honestly. But that project changed a few times in its iterations, and we've seen that happen elsewhere too. So I certainly wouldn't say it never happens. I think comments do help. They have to do it. But it's useful too, and people should feel some agency to get involved. And if they feel strongly about it, write a letter to the editor. Write an email to DotLife. I think it's important that when there are legitimate grievances, that they be brought up before it goes to a board vote. Right, agreed. Well, what's on your radar for next week?
Well, this weekend is the Dorchester Open Studio, so we'll be covering that. That's exciting at Humphrey Street. I know you had guests on recently.
Yeah, Kat Armistead, yeah.
Yeah, talking about that. So that's a pretty cool thing coming up. We have Juneteenth coming up soon. There's an event in Fields Corner at Town Field annually that I believe is happening again. I've heard it's happening.
Yes, I did get a flyer for that.
So Juneteenth is obviously a federal holiday still, thank goodness, and hopefully it will be.
Yeah.
So there's coverage happening around that. And we obviously have Pride, so there's a lot going on citywide, not as much in Dorchester, but there are events happening locally. And so we'll be keeping tabs on a number of those things. There's more candidate forums coming up in the next week, so city council and mayor. So you can watch for all of those things very soon in the Reporter.
Are you covering the Stanley Cup Finals?
You're our only correspondent for that. You're currently my only source for NHL news because as we're taping this, tonight's Game 1 of the NBA Finals, so that's got my full attention.
I thought you didn't care anymore. You're still following that?
Yeah, I am. I'm a basketball fan. I mean, I'm a Celtics fan, all right, and that ride or die. But I will take much greater interest in what happens with OKC and the Pacers than NHL. Sorry, I'm not even sure he's in the NHL Finals.
Are those teams?
See what I have to put up with?
Well, it's also,
this is why I need to tap you in, John. I need your basketball acumen at this moment, but
it's also OTAs now. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the Steph Diggs drama. You guys ended up with Steph Diggs. Good luck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's drugs on a boat or something.
John's been in Jamaica for the last 2 weeks, so he's.
Were you on a boat with Steph Diggs?
No.
We are happy to be rid of him, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, he's a mess.
Well, congratulations. I'm glad we could help you guys out. Yeah. You need all the help you can get,
Appreciate
too.
It. Yeah.
But, yeah, that's got my full attention. But from the Dorchester perspective, we've had our 2 major events of the early summer, but we've got a long way to go, and there's some cool stuff coming up. BAMS Fest is coming up at Franklin Park.
Is it July?
It's in July. So there's lots more coverage to come. And what do you got coming up?
Nothing.
I mean, after you've broken, and by the way, I love this T-shirt as well. You have a whole
new merch.
The merch is really getting very popular. I saw the stickers.
People like the stickers. Yeah, I think the water tower design.
Anything with the gas tank is like gold.
Yeah. Gas, not water. No.
My favorite is the Celtics jersey with the swashes on swash on there.
That is pretty dope.
Yeah.
All right, Bill. Well, thanks for coming in.
Thanks,
Enjoy
Erin.
your ice cream.
Thanks for the ice cream.
Yeah, of course.
Definitely
it's a little melty, but
I've got
have a
my
good
frap.
week.
Thanks. You too.
DotLife is sponsored in part by the Dorchester Reporter, Dorchester's own community newspaper and online home for all things Dorchester at dotnews.com. The Reporter, owned and operated by the Forey family, has been laser focused on Dorchester and the surrounding neighborhoods of Boston since 1983. That longevity and experience shows in its award-winning coverage every week. The Reporter is our go-to source for authentic stories about the people, places, and events that matter most to our daily lives. We are proud to partner with The Reporter and Dot News. And you can support the important journalism provided by The Reporter. Just go to dotnews.com to subscribe today. It's the best deal in town and helps keep our local community journalism alive and well. Welcome back to DotLife. We are talking today about queer life in Dorchester in honor of Pride Month. So joining me today are Kacie King, the president of DotOut. Hi, Kacie.
Hi, how's it going?
Great. Nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And Hammad, Ahmed, the founder of Forge.
Hi, Erin. It's really good to be here.
It's great to have you. Really excited to talk about the projects you guys are working on. But let's start with some quick introductions. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Are you Dorchester people? Get kind of the highlights. So, Kacie, do you want to start?
Yeah, for sure. So like you just said, my name is Kacie King. I use she or they. And I have been a Dorchester resident since 2012. And excluding a couple semesters abroad, I've been here ever since. I have, as long as I'm not priced out, no intention of leaving at any point.
And are you in the Ashmont
Yes.
Adams neighborhood? You're one of my neighbors.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, right
Awesome.
behind the Ashmont fire station.
Perfect. Great
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
We'll have to hang after this.
Absolutely, yes.
I am not a neighbor, but I'm close.
Very
close.
close.
So I'm at Melville Park, which is one of my favorite spots in Dorchester.
It's a beautiful spot.
Yeah. I have been in Dorchester since 2014.
Okay.
That's when I moved to Boston with my husband, and we've been in Dorchester the whole time.
Very cool. And you moved were you in Boston before, or were you?
I moved from DC, and he
From
moved
DC,
from
okay.
Denver. We were actually long distance looking for a city to move, and we picked Boston, like out of a random selection.
Okay,
of cities.
unpack that for me. Why Boston?
I know everyone asks that because it's not the first city you'd pick, but it has really good access to nature, like skiing and beaches and mountains. He's an architect.
Okay.
And I was in education, and so it actually had really good jobs for us too.
Yeah.
And then finally, flights out of Logan to our parents and to Europe were really cheap. So.
I think Logan is the best airport in the States, and
Thank
I
you.
will die on that hill. It is accessible by the train. The number of times I've flown into like Denver and you have to drive an hour to get to the city after you land, I
Right.
don't want to drive after I land. I want autonomy. You
Yes.
know, I don't want an Uber. I want a train.
Yeah.
So 100%.
Logan is key.
Sometimes when I think about moving, I'm like, but then Logan.
Yeah. It's a pretty good deal.
It is. It is. So tell me about DotOut.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack here. We were founded in 2004, right around the same time that same-sex marriage became legal in Massachusetts. While I wasn't around for the beginning half, I've had the pleasure of getting to know it in its, 20th plus years. And it's been just such an incredible opportunity. I have made so many incredible connections being in DotOut. I started probably around 2020 of actually paying attention to it and realized that it existed. One of my neighbors, Stephanie, was on the board, and she and her wife kept bringing it up. Not at all in a pushy way, because they're totally going to hear this, but in a way of like, I should join. And they were so right, I should join. And I haven't looked back since.
So you're one of those, if I join, I'm taking over people? Is that?
Yeah. For better or worse, that's definitely me. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, perfect.
So what does DotOut do?
So we were founded. I'm not even sure if I should speak on founding since I was 10 years old when that happened.
Yeah.
But the last few years, we've been operating off of 4 pillars: political, social, civic, and charitable. Those have been going pretty well, especially pre-pandemic. I think like a lot of organizations, small nonprofits, even larger nonprofits, had a really hard time during the pandemic. And so a lot of our programming had died down, which just happened to be the time that I was learning about it. So from my very, very limited view of it, I haven't really had the chance to experience much of the programming. It's all downhill from here. Here we are. We're killing it, and I'm really excited about how many connections that I've made throughout it. All of the folks that I've gotten to speak to because of it, talking with some of the founding members. Now, since I stepped up as president, especially as a woman, because DotOut is majority men, especially majority cisgendered men. And so now I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be able to expand our programming that is more inclusive of all genders, of all sexualities, of all ages, of different community aspects of the queer community. There's a lot of us that are sober, so I want to be able to offer more spaces for those kind of folks. Especially, even though I do drink myself, I really thrive on just a session, hanging out in a library, hanging out in a park. There's so many cool things to do without a drink in your hand. I don't know where this weird undertone is coming from, but I stand by it. And also, just purely logistically speaking, we are going to, for the time being, drop the 4th pillar of political because we're trying to get back into being on the up and up with a 501c3 status. And just from my personal background, I have experience running a 501c3. And the thought of running a 501c4 is terrifying with all of the different...
It's a whole different animal.
Yeah, with like the ratios of
Yeah.
how much you can time and effort you can spend working for particular campaigns. So for the moment, we're going to be dropping the political. So that doesn't mean we're not advocating still. We are just not going to be able to back very specific candidates at this time.
Okay.
So still very, very similar work. We're just, for the time being, going to drop that part just so that we can kind of get our legs back under us after the pandemic, getting programming back up and running and looking legit in the eyes of the IRS, our dear friend.
And Hammad, Kacie spoke about spaces and maybe even particularly sober spaces for LGBTQ plus people. Who knows that better than you? Because talk about what you are starting.
Yeah, I love when you mention that, Kacie, that we do have a number of bars, nightclubs, and drinking spots as a queer community, but I am trying to open something different. So Forge is a bathhouse and a wellness center, and it's going to be a space to meet that's not an app or a party. It's going to be a quiet place to let down your guard and really be yourself. And I'm not looking to serve alcohol there. Like imagine like a sauna, steam room, spa vibe.
Like this room right now?
Exactly. Like this times 10.
Yep.
There's something about steam that breaks down people's barriers, and it like loosens you up.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we need in Boston. We can be a little cold and a little standoffish. And it's not always drinking that helps. Sometimes it's just relaxing and being together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, bathhouse is part of gay culture, queer culture. Can you talk
Absolutely.
about that kind of history with bathhouses
Yeah.
and that connotation of why is a bathhouse associated with gay culture?
I think from the very beginning, bathhouses existed to provide like public health, like hygiene services.
People didn't have tubs
correct.
or showers in their house.
Yeah, which is hard to imagine now because all houses have more bathrooms than bedrooms, I feel. But yeah, in those days, people would go to publicly bathe. And especially queer people, I feel like you could have made a lot of connections in that particular space because, again, people let down their guard. They're partly clothed. What's happened is that over the
But there's something about partial nudity that also kind of opens up the conversation flow a little bit, right? When you're all in the same situation.
I feel like we're all going to start stripping now in the studio.
Don't tempt me.
It is definitely hot enough to do that.
And so what happened was the queer community started opening our own bathhouses just for us, which was, I think, an offshoot of the public health hygiene thing. But cities across the U.S. and in Europe had them. A lot of them shut down during the AIDS crisis in the U.S., but you still find them in every city in the U.S., basically except for Boston.
Why is that? In your opinion, I know you're...
Yeah, so many reasons. I think one of the main reasons is because of development. Honestly, there's a lot of pressure on real estate. It's not just bathhouses. We lost so many queer spaces in the last 10 years because of condos and biotech and real estate.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it is a difficult thing to open a business in Boston that has any hint of sexuality or sex positivity. We just have a little bit of a puritanical background.
We sure do.
We do, right? And so I think that's okay. We can acknowledge that, but there's a lot of support right now in the community for a space like this.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Do you have a location yet? Like, where are you in the process?
I would love a location in Dorchester.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm looking for a 5,000 to 10,000 square foot box, basically.
Okay.
And Dorchester does have some spots like that. I don't have a specific property that I can tell you about, but like areas, Fields Corner, Ashmont would be great. And yeah, I'm working with developers and real estate people to find one.
Cool. That's great. Well, let us know how we can help. We'd love to support that. Let's talk a little bit more broadly about just queer life in Dorchester. So I know Boston has always, or has for a long time, been a fairly queer-friendly area.
Right.
What about Dorchester in particular? Do you know any of the history?
Yeah, on the history front, I don't know a lot, but I think it goes possibly without saying is that there's been queer people here as long as people have been here. With a quick Google before the show was about 10,000 years ago.
That's a lot of years.
Yeah, that's a lot of years of queer people.
It is.
We've been here ever since.
And it's been the exact same queer people. You and I have been here that
You look
whole
great
time.
for your age.
Thank you so much.
I know that Dorchester has been behind the scenes a little bit, but has always been very queer. This is anecdotal, but I feel like the areas of Jones Hill, Savin Hill, Melville Park in particular, have always had really queer strongholds. And of course, there have been tons of people of color and working class people who lived in Dorchester who've been queer. I'm thinking of the folks who have been priced out of the South End.
Right.
I'm thinking about the folks who wanted to raise a family and needed a house, and also the people who wanted a project. You know, queers, we love home renovation.
Yes, we do.
We love a project, and so
So
Dorchester has really like welcomed that.
Yeah, definitely. How is the visibility and the resources in the Dorchester area for queer populations, how has that changed over time? Have you seen more accessibility? And what kinds of places are there for people who live here and want resources?
Yeah. Do you want to take that first, or should I?
Yeah, I think I've seen really promising trends lately. We have a new bookstore in Fields Corner called Just Bookish, which is queer-owned, BIPOC-owned, and women-owned. And that bookstore has felt... You know this, Kacie, because you host a storytelling session there.
Yes, we do. Dot Stories.
Yeah, that's felt like such a game changer to have a queer space like that in the neighborhood.
Not to mention a bookstore. How did we not have a bookstore before?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is. It is. And she serves wine, right?
Yes.
Very recently. It's very exciting.
You can read a book and have wine and be queer.
Yes.
It's incredible. We've always had Peggy O'Neill's. Bless Peggy O'Neill's, but they changed to Blend 5 years ago because it was an Irish pub that had a monthly gay night, and I don't know the history of it, but they decided to just lean in fully to the gay.
Okay.
So now Blend is one of our big spots for nightlife and bars and like drag brunch.
Yep. And D-Bar is not far from there. Right?
Yeah. So you have kind of like a little Rainbow Road, essentially, from D-Bar to Just Bookish. And I have to tell you both, I learned this from Jackie, who's the Fields Corner Main Street Executive Director. We're getting a rainbow crosswalk in Fields Corner next year.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, there's going to be like a big party. They're doing a lot of programming, but it's going to be on Dorchester Avenue at Linden Street.
Okay.
It's going to be a pedestrian crossing to commemorate the queer history of Dorchester. So
that's fantastic.
like we're on the map.
Yeah, definitely. Anything that you would add to that, Kacie?
Yes and no. It's kind of a tricky thing to wrap my head around because within the queer community, there are so many different identities. A person is not just their sexuality. I feel like I don't really have to say that, but I have to say it to
it doesn't hurt
where I'm going. Yeah. As a cisgendered, pansexual white woman, I feel like there aren't very many spaces for queer women. And
Boston didn't have a lesbian bar until
last
year. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's still only one.
And it's far away.
It is far.
It's too far.
It's far. If I had any restaurant experience whatsoever other than Friendly's and Cold Stone Creamery, that would totally have been where I would have gone with this. But I can't. It's
not going to happen.
It's not happening.
Okay.
Not for me, at least. I hope someone else does.
Yeah.
I would love if someone else does. Yeah. But it doesn't, I guess, speaking towards my identity as a non-man, it doesn't feel like there are very many queer-friendly spaces for me and other folks that identify similarly to me.
Yeah.
I've been finding queer community has been really existing in just a handful of people's living rooms, which is
lovely.
Right. And I love it because I am definitely a couch potato. I love sitting on the couch with some good friends, maybe some Demetrios or Kapow. I know that was your later question, but
that's okay.
That's my go-to. That is my idea of a fantastic Friday night. Boxed wine. Maybe we're giving each other like presentations on different topics.
That checks out for you.
Yeah. That is so my scene. I go to like a nightclub. I try for once a year, just so I don't lose the touch.
That's ambitious.
And I went to Danny's when it first opened, and
That's the lesbian bar that we were talking about.
Yep, exactly. And I'll probably go again towards the end of this year, and then again in 2027.
I like that you have it planned out.
Yeah. Nice.
There are spaces in JP. I know.
Yes.
Was it
Midway?
Yes, I used to be there every Thursday. Yeah.
Okay. They used to have It's now the Haven. What was it before? It was Milky Way? Was it Milky Way?
Yeah.
And that closed.
Yeah.
But I think that was like a nightly, that was like a blend, right? Like it was just queer all the time, not nights of queer.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think Dorchester Brewing Company has a ladies' tea dance.
Yes.
Some Sundays out of the month.
Yeah, I've been a couple times.
Really? How's it?
It's fun. I feel like I don't count it as fully going out because I don't have to wear heels and it is still in Dorchester. So I feel like it doesn't count, which matters nothing at all. But it's a good time. It's a great time. Beth, who runs Lesbian Nightlife, throws those just really incredible parties. They're so inclusive. And it's just so nice to walk into a bar and it is like 95% not men. No offense.
I don't take any offense. Yeah.
I didn't think you would, but just, it's really nice to walk into a space where you are just so thoroughly represented. It is, it's not to put a bad name to Blend or D-Bar or anything, but I have never experienced that there. Never. Hope if they hear this, maybe they reach out, want to schedule
maybe a DotOut collab.
Yeah. The wheels are turning.
But I take your
they
point.
would because the owners of Blend are actually a lesbian couple.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
No
So I think they
way.
might be interested.
Oh my God.
I talked to the owner of Danny's Queer Bar last week, and do you know what she said? Like,
What?
she is so refreshingly honest, and she said, gay men spend more money. And so as a business
that's
owner,
totally facts.
you have to, take that into account.
Wow.
Which is sad.
But it does make sense.
It does.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I take your point about not finding as many spaces for gay men are very well represented generally, but there's also the intersectionality of race and gender identity. So how do you guys think about those factors? You mentioned
I relate to you so much, Kacie, in the sense that when I moved to Boston in 2014, I didn't see a lot of representation of people like me, specifically South Asian. I definitely felt like the only one in the room at gay spaces. And I have been so grateful to see that change over the past 10 years because of work by people like Lamb Ramming at Men of Melanin Magic, which is now Frolic, and other people who've started building community around queer people of color. I remember us calling it cutie pock at some point. Do we still say that?
I've never
Queer and
heard
trans
it,
people
but
of color.
I really like it.
I like that a lot.
Cutie pock. But yeah, people have since 2020 and since the racial reckoning after George Floyd's murder and Black Lives Matter, I felt a difference in the city that has been really refreshing of people centering and making space for queer people of color. So I just want to see that trend continue.
Yeah. You mentioned Men of
Melanin Magic.
Okay, I love that name.
Great. Yeah. He is such a good marketer.
Queer people have the best puns. It's awesome.
Yeah, we invent language, as it turns out. All slang comes from queer people.
Yes.
So it's now it's a national organization, but it started in Boston.
Oh, wow, okay.
And they did basically takeovers of different spaces, which have now become institutionalized. So when you go to Legacy on Friday, that is Bust Down Friday, and that is a Black and people of color space for queers. Other organizations exist like that. It's a Vibe is a version of that for Black women and women of color. And the more that I work on Forge, the more I'm meeting community people who've just taken it into their own hands to create these communities and spaces.
Yes.
Do you guys find that the city enables this sort of thing or supports it, or is it kind of just like you just talked about, it's individuals kind of doing their own thing and the city's just not getting in the way tremendously much unless it is sex positive, and then they are getting in the way?
I feel like Boston is trying its best as a city, but it's like I said, with the real estate and the pressures on landlords and developers, I think it's just very hard. So people are kind of having to take it into their own hands.
And no real initiative for them to, and we've talked about the lack of musical and artist spaces as well, but I feel like the same thing, they need to be intentional about creating queer spaces and making it easier.
Right.
We have a mayor's office of LGBTQIA2S plus advancement. I don't know if you've ever interacted with them.
I have visited their website, and I believe that's where our interaction has ended.
Same. I have tried to reach out 3 times and I have not heard back yet. So I think the city is
concerning.
maybe at capacity or something.
Yeah, that could be.
The libraries are where it seems like they're really starting to organize. I think especially because I come from a background of youth work.
Okay.
So I have spent a lot of time in mostly the Dorchester and Roxbury Boston Public Libraries. And they're like really, really starting to stand up for the kids, stand up for anybody. I think last year I watched a head librarian stand, like, not face off, because that makes it sound violent, but a woman came in so enraged that there was going to be a drag queen doing a reading for the kids.
Oh, my God.
And the librarian just stood there, like, head held high, like, we understand that you're not comfortable with it, but we are, and we're going to move forward. The kids are going to have a great
don't
time.
Come if you don't want to come.
It's safe. The woman who was super enraged was like, it's not safe for the kids.
Oh, wow.
I can think of so many other things that are not safe for the kids, but you're probably fine with anyway. It's not the drag queens.
So that's a really good transition to my next question.
Okay.
This is not the most forward-thinking progressive time in America, and I would even go so far as to say it is quite hostile toward particularly trans members of the queer community, but also others. How are you seeing that manifesting in Dorchester or Boston? Is there anything specific?
Yeah, I mean, I have a nephew who is trans who moved to Boston from Alabama because they were trying to escape the kind of general hostility that you're seeing around the U.S. So Boston is still seen as a beacon of hope and a place where you can get health care and education and rights.
That's wonderful,
yeah,
by the way.
Absolutely.
Love that.
I'm really proud of him. But also, like, it's very expensive here compared to Alabama. And so, he's been struggling to, like, find a job to afford rent and all the things. And so I just wonder about that. I wonder about the influx of people that we're going to have. A lot of them are going to move to Dorchester because it is affordable compared to other neighborhoods. And are we ready for, like, to welcome them with open arms? Do we have enough housing and jobs? That's like a wondering. I don't know.
As a future employer, something to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
Does DotOut have trans-specific programming?
We don't yet.
Okay.
And that is definitely a pain point for me, and I'm sure a lot of the trans community in Dorchester. We're starting to make teeny tiny steps in what I feel like is the right direction. A little bit more representation, hopefully to come on the board in our membership in general. Something that had bothered me a little bit about DotOut is when you look at the census, which is on its own racist and has so many problems, but looking just at the census numbers from whenever the last one was in Boston, one of the largest, I guess harping back to race for just a second, but the biggest piece of the pie was the BIPOC community. And I've heard from so many folks that are not white cis men that DotOut is a cis white gay man club. And that is something that I really want to tackle first and foremost.
And that's based on its history, right? It really was for a long time mostly run by cis white gay men. Yeah.
Currently, I am the only not cis white gay man on the board.
Okay.
Which isn't saying much because I am still a cis white woman. So the diversity is still...
It's 1 degree.
Yeah, barely. But there's been a lot of interest of folks of color, folks that are trans, folks of so many different backgrounds other than cis white men are starting to be really interested. And I feel like I'm starting to win over different individual folks who then, of course, come with an army of their community, of folks that represent them more, of folks that look like them more. I hope for those folks who are hearing this right now and feel like DotOut hasn't been representing you, hasn't felt like a place for you, that it starts to feel like a place for you. Please reach out if you feel like you are ready to take even the tiniest of action steps. Probably the easiest action step is just signing up for our newsletter on our website, dotout.org, or following us on Instagram, following us on Facebook. And if you are feeling a sudden urge of you want to take big steps, board applications are coming out soon, and we would love to see your name in that pile of applications.
So we've talked a lot about what's here. Let's talk about what's not here for the queer community. Mm-hmm. There are some clubs, but I would say it's the bare minimum. Mm-hmm. Like, I've been to a lot of other much more equipped cities and gay areas, and the Dorchester just doesn't really have it.
Yeah, it's ironic because now Boston is as a sanctuary city for the LGBTQ community, which I have to thank the city council. That's incredible. Thank you.
It is incredible.
But it feels like lip service when you can count the number of queer spaces on your fingers.
Yeah.
And you're like, what does it actually mean to be a sanctuary city at this point?
Do you think it's because, I've asked some of my friends this, and we all kind of are speculating, do you think it's because P-Town is so close that people, and it was just such a given that Boston was queer friendly that it didn't feel the need to like build it up as such, because it's more like integrated, although I would argue it's not fully, but...
That checks out. Yeah, that checks out. Like, if you are going to really lean into the queer vibe, you're going to pick P-Town over Boston.
Or even Providence.
Or even Providence. Yeah. And so that's, maybe we're just seeing like an exodus of the people who would, if they had stayed, really created the scene and made it fully vibrant and inclusive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame, though. I mean... I love the gay neighborhoods in different cities. I think they add so much life to a city, and it is sleepy. I mean, Boston is sleepy anyway, but like that is part of the reason there isn't that.
Yeah, and it's not just nightlife; like it's day life too.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Queer people like. For the bathhouse, I want it to be a daytime space.
Yeah.
You can come right after work, or even like in the morning if you want. And so I think that's the kind of space that we really don't have and we really need.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk more about what the bathhouse will include? I think is it Reiki is one of the offerings?
Yeah, it's
by my friend Chris.
Yes, I love that we both know Chris.
I know, that's so funny. Small city.
Chris is a Reiki practitioner, a yoga teacher, and somatics coach, and he like really understands how trauma is carried in the body. Mm-hmm. So when I talked to him about my bathhouse concept, we agreed that it would be really important to have classes there and workshops, which is pretty unusual for a gay bathhouse.
Definitely.
But we want people to come and be able to do partner yoga or just different poses and exercises with other people to understand how their body is carrying trauma and heal from that. And I think also massage instruction. I would love to see a class where people can come into the room and learn to massage others with consent.
I will volunteer to be the test dummy.
Great, exactly.
I'll get the massages.
You get a free massage, yeah. But I think like what a cool way to meet someone new without having to like talk to them or say where you work or where you live, but like just to practice like being in physical contact. You know, that's my vibe. I'm all about like people letting down their guard and like becoming a little bit closer.
Is the bathhouse going to be open to straight people?
I'm really glad you asked that because allies are 100% welcome at the bathhouse. Yeah. However, it is a queer space. So I want people to be mindful that they're going to be contributing to the space by being there. And so, you know, if it's a day spa people are looking for or a massage clinic or a yoga studio, there are plenty of those. Yeah. We have so few queer spaces. So if you're going to come, I really want people to understand that that's a queer space and you need to contribute to that somehow and not like take away from that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Definitely. Speaking of allies, what would you ask allies to do? Like, I hang a flag. Does that matter? Do you guys care that I hang a flag?
So much.
It matters so much.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I only do it in June, though, because I don't support queer people outside of June.
We cease to exist outside of June.
You have my full support in June, and then I'm done with you.
I don't know how you feel about the flags, but I think like every time I see one, I just want to knock on the door and say thank you.
It makes me so happy. It makes it feel like a safe space to be yourself. And I think especially coming from a youth service background where I worked with a lot of queer kids, anytime that you see yourself represented out in the community, your true self as a young adult, it matters so immensely. So yes, keep up those flags.
Okay,
even if you take it down July 1st, the night before, It does. It really
Maybe I'll leave it
honestly
above
matters.
summer this year.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I go
Okay.
through July because it also looks really pretty on my house.
It
so
is very pretty.
Yeah.
take it
And it
down.
matches the flowers in the front.
Exactly.
It's great. Yeah. What else? What else would you like to see more of from allies?
I think this applies to all parts of life, but listen to hear someone and not to respond. Listen to try to understand where they're coming from. That I think is right up there with the golden rule. Other ones are read about our history, read about who we are. Particular shout out to Just Bookish, or the store, would absolutely love, hold your hand, show you probably every queer history book or queer life book.
She has a full dedicated section to LGBTQ plus.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
They are, I can't speak highly enough of that space.
Yeah.
But yeah, read, watch, listen, find good sources like the Human Rights Coalition. A newer organization in Boston is the Queer Neighborhood Council. They are really, really new, but they're doing some really incredible, powerful stuff. So I absolutely check them out. And then another one is to just spend time in the queer community, spend time with us as individuals, get to know us as whole people, not just our sexuality, not just our gender. Get to know what makes us happy, what brings us joy, what makes us feel connected, what makes us feel included. Get to know what makes us upset, what makes us feel excluded, what makes us feel really intentionally excluded because of fear or just general hatred. Get to know us as individuals. And then I know this doesn't drive as many people crazy, but personally, I lose my mind internally when grown women refer to their friends, their other cis straight women friends, as their girlfriends. It drives me so crazy. It's like, so my real girlfriend is just someone I hang out with on Tuesday nights. It's like, no, she's my real girlfriend. It's a real relationship. And oh my God.
You feel like it minimizes the importance of the
it does.
word.
And they're just like, I went to the Patriots game with my girlfriends last week.
I kind of wish straight men would say they went out with their boyfriends.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that.
They don't say that, but that'd be really
don't.
fun.
And I'm glad they don't. But yeah, you're right. It would be a fun switch flip.
That is a hilarious pet peeve.
It drives me so crazy.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard anyone get mad about that before.
Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
In my head, I might look cool, calm, and collected.
But you are fuming.
Inside, I am fuming.
Got it.
I think if I can add anything, I think that was such a good answer. And if I can add anything, it is also think about queer elders and queer youth in particular.
Yeah.
I think like in Boston, we have so many amazing folks who were at Stonewall when that happened. And
Yes.
and like we just don't have a lot of space for them too. And so there are organizations where you can volunteer and like, you know, deliver meals, or you can hang out as a social companion. So yeah, I just want to advocate for those two populations. And youth, of course, like the 18 to 22-year-olds. I think there's a lot of organizations for them, but they need
Yes.
mentorship.
Yep.
I grew up as a queer person with zero queer role models or adults I could talk to. And I hope that's changed for Gen Alpha. But
I really hope so.
yeah, like that's where I think allies can be crucial.
I would add we should be thinking about elders all the time of all
Yeah.
demographics, because I do think the U.S. does a terrible job of taking care of its elder population, and we should be better about
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's literally we're all going to be elders. Hopefully, we're going to
According
make
to
it
Joni,
that way.
according to
Hopefully.
Joni Ernst, we're all going to die. So,
Oh, let's
so
get
why
ready
do you
for
want
that.
healthcare?
Right?
Buckle up.
Love what's happening these days.
That's the worst.
So I'm going to wrap this up. I do want to ask you one more question, Hammad, about the bathhouse. You're still working on the process.
Yeah.
Where can people who want to be involved or want to help you with what you're doing, what can they do?
People should definitely check out the website,
Okay.
www.forge-boston.com.
Okay.
I am seeking investors as well. Right now, I'm about a third of the way
Okay.
to where I need my funding goal. So when I have a property and I have investors, then I can really go through the zoning process.
Okay.
And then at that point, I'll need the whole community to rally in support of this, because community support is how the city will know that it matters.
Yeah. Great. And same question to you. Well, not the same because you're not opening a bathhouse, but what would you like from folks who are interested in DotOut? You did mention board members would be good.
Yeah.
People signing up for the newsletter. Anything else?
Yeah, a handful of different things. But before I get there, I want to make sure that I have on the record that it's not just me leading this. It's the whole board. It's our community. We aren't making this transition just because I'm here. This has been
It's not your pet peeve that you're just trying to...
Yeah, exactly. Everybody is excited about...
It's you and all your girlfriends?
Yeah, me and all my girlfriends that I'm not romantically involved with at all for some reason. Come to Dot Stories. I know I had just mentioned that. It's one of my favorite spots. We are there starting in July. We'll have a more regular schedule of every third Thursday from, I believe it's 6 till 8.
At Just Bookish.
At Just Bookish,
And
yes.
is there a sign up or just show up?
That we do have a registration link.
Okay.
But I think maybe about a third of folks who are there have actually signed up.
Okay.
We need to work out a few more kinks. We just had, I think, our 4th or 5th session. Our next one is June 21st. It's a Saturday, which is off of our regular schedule. But the third Thursday this month is Juneteenth. So we didn't want to take away any actual Juneteenth time.
Yeah.
Because we get to be fun and super happy. We're gay all month long. Juneteenth is just one day. So we didn't want to step on their toes on that one.
I think you're actually gay even more than just the month, right?
No, I'm actually straight the rest
you are?
of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Come to Dot Stories. Come to our events. Come to anything that we do. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear what matters to you. We want this to be not just a handful of folks leading the charge. We want it to be a big community thing. We can't create these programs that make everybody feel included or represented if not everybody is included and represented in the planning of these programs and events.
Amen. Yeah.
Awesome. I have one more question for you.
Sure.
You already teased it, Kacie. Where is your favorite place to go to eat in Dorchester?
Ooh, all right. So as you know, I'm not much of a go out kind of girl.
So what's your favorite takeout place?
My favorite place to order from that I sit on my couch with is Demetrio's and Kapow.
Where is Demetrio's?
Demetrio's is a couple blocks down from me on Dot Ave.
Okay.
It's kind of between Ashmont and Shawmut.
Is it near like El Barrio?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, another.
Okay.
That's probably in third.
I do like El Barrio.
I love them so much.
And Kapow is great too. I'll have to check out Demetrio's.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are the best.
Awesome. Is it pizza?
Best.
What is it?
I believe it's Armenian American.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I will definitely.
You can't go wrong on a single thing on their menu.
Okay. Good to know. Hammad, how about you?
I do love JP Roti on Washington Street. It is only open, I think, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but somehow in those 3 days they make enough money to cover the rest of the week because the roti is that good. So
Awesome.
highly recommend.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you both for coming in. Really appreciate it. I'm very excited about your project and I'm really interested in hearing more from DotOut.
Me
so
too.
Thank you so much for coming.
My
And happy
pleasure.
Pride Month.
Woo! Happy
Happy Pride.
Girlfriend high five.
Girlfriend high five.
You're such a troll.
The troll.
DotLife is supported by The Record Company, Boston's leading provider of accessible music creation spaces. The Record Company is addressing the critical shortage of affordable creative space in our city, serving over 4,000 monthly users across 131 communities. They've preserved 47,000 square feet of professional studio and rehearsal space at rates 60 to 90% below market value, ensuring Boston's musicians have a place to create, regardless of economic means. But they're more than just affordable space. They're building career pathways through partnerships with Bunker Hill Community College, offering professional certification programs that lead to sustainable music careers. This vital work is at risk. As creative spaces continue to disappear across Boston, the Record Company needs community support to maintain these essential resources. Their Amplify Boston campaign directly funds space preservation and career development programs. Visit therecordcompany.org today. That's therecordco.org to donate, become a monthly supporter, or learn about partnership opportunities. Every contribution helps keep Boston's music ecosystem thriving. The Record Company, creating accessible pathways to music creation since 2010. Welcome back to DotLife. We're here for this week's Tiny Dot concert with Eli Shane. Eli, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And you brought a companion.
I did bring her with me.
She's beautiful.
Thank you.
We're going to need to get a shot of this inlay. This is so pretty.
Yes, I love her deeply.
Where is she from?
I got her. I'm her second owner.
Okay.
So I picked her up in Jersey. She's a Venus harp. I think she's like 15 years old. But we've been together for coming on 3 years now.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
So it's an LTR.
Yes.
Very nice. Tell me, you were talking to me a little bit earlier before we started recording about the differences in harps.
So this is a pedal harp. This is the kind of harp that you will see in orchestras, the big boy harps, and then the other kind of harps are lever harps, which are the smaller ones. They're more often used for like Celtic folk music and other things. The difference is that pedal harps have these pedals on the bottom here. So they have B, C, D, E, F, G, A. So one for each like letter name note. And then those pedals change all of the octaves of a certain note to flat, natural, or sharp. Okay. Whereas a lever harp, it's a lever on each string that changes it to sharp or natural.
I was saying to you earlier, I'm a piano player, and this very much reminds me of kind of an upright piano situation. I didn't realize how intricate harps were.
Yeah, there's many mechanisms at hand. It's like 400 parts.
That's crazy.
And yeah, I played piano first, so it definitely gave me a lot. When moving to the harp.
Yeah.
And I played guitar too, so I feel like the skills of both
the
of
combination
those,
is very harp.
Yes.
How did you get into the harp?
So I had always wanted to play since I was a kid.
Okay.
I just had sort of a fascination with them. And then it grew more in high school. I started listening to Joanna Newsom, who's an incredible harpist, incredible songwriter. And I started delving into more works of Zena Parkins, who plays with Bjork, and experimental harp. And I just kept falling down the rabbit hole. And I did my undergrad at SUNY Purchase in a composition program, studio composition. And I found out that they had a harp teacher there. So I was like, it's my time. Let me try this thing that I've always wanted to do, expecting it to be like a fun thing to try. And then as soon as I started playing, I was like, this is what I want to do all the time, always.
Oh, that's
amazing.
amazing.
Because it is just the most amazing feeling to play.
It has such a beautiful sound. It's very resonant. It's very full-bodied.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a very full-bodied instrument, and it's a very full-body experience to play, because you're like literally hugging the instrument as you play it. And what's so amazing about it is it's so resonant that like when you're playing it, the sound hole is here, and you like feel the sound
the reverb
hit your body. So it's a very, very visceral experience to play, which is what I think hooked me in. And I love bringing it. That's why I love bringing it to places like this, or doing like DIY or house shows, bringing it in small spaces where people can really be up close to it, because like the feeling of the sound waves hitting you is so amazing.
A lot of people, I think, are probably more familiar with harps in terms of like angels or dream sequences in TV shows. You have a very different style of harp playing. Tell us about your style and how you came to that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because I didn't come from a classical background. I was a songwriter first. I played guitar and piano, as I said. And when I did start playing the harp, I was learning classical technique, and I was learning classical pieces because, again, it was more of a hobby thing. But naturally, I started songwriting on the harp, and I had mainly written on guitar before I put out an album my sophomore year of undergrad. And those were all songs written on guitar. But then when I started writing on the harp, it was just like, it was totally changed my songwriting. And I feel like I was able to like lock into this. It was more me than anything I'd ever written. I love that album, but there are some songs that are Joni Mitchell rips, for sure. Whereas when
There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, of course not. But when I started writing on the harp, it just felt like this key to like all of this pent up creative energy that I had that I couldn't get out with other instruments.
Do you consider yourself, I think you talk about your style as being kind of pop, folk? What do you call yourself?
Yeah, so when I'm describing myself, for my studio music, I say it's like psychedelic folk a lot.
Okay.
Because I think it's like rooted in folk music, but then I do a lot of like electroacoustic manipulation of the harp, and I play in ways that it's not always played or heard.
When you say
So
electro,
kind
what does that mean? You plug in sometimes? Like, is there
I want to get there eventually,
Okay.
but right now everything's just been post-processing, so recording it and then running it through plugins and effects and experimenting with that world and producing it. But yeah, I think there's like this duality that I have between like really out there music and really pop music.
Yeah.
That is like what makes me me, and I just like I'm trying to join those things as much as I can. Like I have Bjork and Fiona Apple are some of my biggest inspirations, and even if we're going more out there, like Meredith Monk and like that world of like late 20th century new music is super exciting to me. But I also like love Ariana Grande and Beyonce and Mariah Carey, and like I think there's so much value in pop music, and I take so much inspiration from it. So I've really tried to bridge those. And then similarly, like with the songwriting stuff that I've done, I went into my undergrad very songwriting focused, and then as I got better at the harp, I started doing more like performative stuff, improvisatory stuff, and that's what kind of led me to the grad program that I am in now. But I feel like it's just been trying to unite those sides of me, and this instrument has been the vessel for it.
And you are at New England Conservatory.
I am,
And you live in JP.
Yes.
So tell us what program are you in, and how are you finding that experience? You just moved here this year?
Last year.
Okay.
Yes. So I just finished up my first year of a 2-year Masters of Music program in a program called Contemporary Musical Arts. And it's like a composer, performer, improviser program. They kind of make us do everything. But it's, kind of for people who don't really adhere to a classical or jazz background, which dominates most music schools today. And it's really about focusing on finding your personal style and giving you the tools in your musicianship to enhance your personal style. And it just brings together all of these people that are doing such unique things from all over the world that feels like they would have no other place to do it. So it's just been so inspiring. It's been like the best experience of my life so far. I love it so much.
I want to discuss your songs a little bit.
Yes.
You're going to play 3 songs for us. The first one, I think you mentioned, is about your experience living in Utah.
It was just a visit to Utah.
Okay.
Yes.
So are these are based on your own experiences? You wrote it yourself?
Yes.
What was the visit to Utah like?
So that visit to Utah, it was actually a very short trip. I went to see Paramore because they're my favorite band. So I've traveled to Utah to see them, to Nashville to see them. But at that time, I happened to concurrently be making a new friend in New York who was from Salt Lake City. And I was just at kind of a little emotion time, and there was just something that connected that landscape to that feeling of the budding friendship to me. So it kind of was that experience of that budding friendship through the lens of that landscape, because it was just mountains as far as you could look.
Yeah, I've heard Utah is like the most beautiful state.
Yeah.
I've actually never been. I've been to most states, but Utah is still on the
Yeah,
list.
I was there for like 36 hours.
Oh, wow.
But I mean,
You got a song out of 36 hours?
Yeah. It's just like you walk out and everywhere as far as you look is mountains.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Gorgeous. And then your second song is going to be, I think it's called Liaison.
Yes.
Is that right? And tell us the inspo for that.
Yeah, so that one came out last year. I wrote it about kind of domesticity and routine. A lot of my songs, I kind of like think of them as like word paintings. I'm not always super on the nose or telling like very direct stories. Westlands is the same way. I leave a lot up to interpretation. Just let it hit you how it does. But Liaison specifically was inspired by a short story by Lydia Davis, who's an author that is wonderful and has given me a lot of inspiration. I've done other projects based on her work. But yeah, it came out last year.
Okay.
And it was it was the first song that I like really worked on, that I wrote on harp in the studio, and it just opened up all these doors for me of how I wanted to work and how I thought of the recorded music that I did. And yeah.
Okay. And the third one is called Handsome.
It is called Handsome.
And this one you describe as a gay song.
It is a gay song.
Is this based on your own experience?
It is based on my own experience.
That's awesome.
When I'm playing this song live, but I usually introduce this song by saying this is a song about fucking somebody that's hotter than you, because it was about this guy that I was banging that I was like, wow, I can't believe I pulled that. But it is kind of a, tender, emotional song. So I like kind of setting up that expectation that grabs people in, and then they're like, oh, this is not totally what I was expecting.
Well, we had a one-man band who did bluegrass, and it was beautiful music, but as you listen to lyrics, you're like, oh, this is about rape and murder. Wow, this is this is a little bit terrifying. So I think the Handsome is very similar in that it's very upbeat and beautiful music, and then you're like, oh,
real.
This is a little more to it.
Less grim than rape and murder.
Definitely less grim. Yeah,
it was a very consensual situation.
That's awesome.
I was very down for it. It was a great time.
Well, we are very excited to have you play.
Thank you.
Are you ready to play those 3 songs?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Thanks,
Eli.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to play some songs from my second album, which I'm working on, which will be coming out next year. This first one is called Westlands, and it will be coming out this summer. It's a song I wrote a few years ago now about being in Utah. I feel I'm being eroded away. I've been backed into a corner till I'm scared of my own name. And everyone else felt so far away. We had the kind of night just finding out what we were doing the next day. There's a shortness in being young, the ease with which you turned me. Placated and assuaged what I had thought for the time being. Grasslands, I thought of climbing up the mountains. I swear I wouldn't have seen them before, but now they're like a person. I feel like a natural. And I suddenly feel that I don't have to be as smart as I once was. I'd give up the happiest parts of my world to know that I could see her again tomorrow. Song number 1. The second song I'm going to do is a track called Liaison. It's a single that I released last year, and it was a big turning point for me in how I produce my music and really gave me the vision of the songs that I've been working on moving forward. It's a song about domesticity and routine, and it is inspired by a short story by Lydia Davis, who is an amazing writer. Yeah. Work's tough as a liaison. You never get what you want. I am the face of, on the behalf of, I work for you, I work for you, I work for you. I've been so down, beating the walls of the house, draining the life out of myself. But if I keep speaking, I'll feel like I'm reading the news. And so things compounded, but in here I felt grounded, retreated like a dead bird, but there was strength in my fingers. I've been so down, beating the walls of the house, draining the life out of myself. But if I keep speaking, I'll feel like I'm reading the news. And if I say I am this way, then you will see me as this way. But if you seem as how you're seen, then does it mean I am this way? I never saw me as this way, the pedagogical way, but all bound up in being such is unavoidable, I'm afraid. But I will not swivel in my chair just to please you. I will not swivel in my chair. When you're the liaison, you do as you're told. All right, I got one more. Thank you very much for having me here today. I love playing these songs. This last one is also available on all your dirty streamers. It is a song called Handsome, and it's about batting out of your league. And it's a gay one, so happy Pride Month. Grasping something in your hands, and yet you can't form a word about it. But it just has this allure, and suddenly my room is a bomb shelter, no way to get around it. But I think this might work. I'm sneaking in the right words, but I'm still unsure. 'Cause he is so handsome. It's moonlike, the way he behaves. It's what keeps me engaged. And yeah, sometimes I think I'm hot stuff, but look at that kind kind of face. I feel so out of place, yet he's convincing me that he's the lucky one. Buttons undone, and he's so handsome. I'm astonished as he reflects back unto me, and I'm enamored. He's got this hot guy kind of mystique. He makes me feel so handsome. He makes me feel like I'm somebody else, like my breath ain't my breath. And even if I don't get a call back, I'm still impressed that I bagged that. That's what I got. Thank you. Hope you like what you heard.
Thank you for listening to DotLife, which is available on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. DotLife is produced and edited by me, Erin Caldwell. Technical support is provided by Yasser Mahmoud. Additional support is provided by the Dorchester Reporter and the Record Company. Thanks to Kacie King, Hammad, Ahmed, Eli Shane, and Bill Forey for joining this week's show. We'd love it if you could share, subscribe, rate, and review the pod wherever you listen. If you're interested in supporting the podcast, visit dotlifepod.com for more information.